This is Here's What I Learned, a podcast that explores the lessons found in business and life. I'm your host, Jackie Hayes, a business consultant and strategist, a reader, homesteader, and superhero fan. In this show, I talk with coaches and service providers. We explore the lessons they have learned running an online business, embracing feminist business practices, rejecting hustle culture, and embracing their roles as CEOs. In today's episode, I'm talking with SEO specialist Danielle Gagnon about learning how to prioritize herself in business and life. We cover topics like taking control of your schedule, breaking free of the employee mindset, and growing up without an entrepreneur role model. Danielle started her business in 2018 and today helps female entrepreneurs grow their businesses organically and massively through search engine optimization and content marketing. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Right. Danielle, I'm going to start this whole conversation off with a quick rapid fire question. And that is, what have you been learning about lately?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think for me, my biggest learning lately has been how to actually put myself first, both in professional side of life and personal side of life, just not giving every single piece of myself away to everyone else around me. I'm actively learning it. I would not say I've learned yet. It's a process, but yeah, that's been a recurring theme for me lately.
I think that's a recurring theme for most people who've been socialized as women. So,
I think you're right.
Yeah. And then if you happen to then have children on top of it.
Yes. And I have 3 and my oldest is 5. So I'm in the thick of it.
Yeah. I had 1 and it was hard. So
yeah, any number is hard.
Any number is hard, but the 3 means you have 3 times the amount of attention that, is wanted. Yep. 3 times the amount of, things and activities. I mean, yours are younger right now, but then once they start doing all the activities, etc.
Yeah. This was our first year of my older 2 each have 1 activity. And even just that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to manage 2 more people's social lives. They're making friends. There's parties. It's a whole thing.
What got you to this point where you're like, no, I have to learn how to do this?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's been an ongoing challenge. As you said, I think most of us who've been socialized as women have this experience. But I think for me, in the years that I was an employee, so I've been full-time in my business now for almost 4 years, because it was March of 2019. So this March will be 4 years. But in my years as an employee, I really prided myself on my output, right? I was the person who could get the most done and would take on any project, and my bosses loved me as a result. But I was also very tired all the time as a result, but that didn't really matter to me. I just, at the time, I just wanted to be that go-to person, right? I wanted to move up in my career. I wanted to be the best, basically. And so when I started my business, I sort of approached it from the same mindset. And for the first couple years, especially, I just did anything and everything that people would pay me to do. And I was all over the place and I was making plenty of money, but it didn't really feel any better than being an employee. I essentially was an employee. Now I just had 15 bosses instead of 1. And so I would say over the last 2 years, so the second half of these almost 4 years now, as I've started to focus my services more specifically on search engine optimization, which is what I do now, I've also been trying to break out of that mindset. And I'm in a much better place with that now than I was, but it's still this just ongoing theme and unlearning and just sort of breaking those habits all the time.
You said something there about instead of having 1 boss, you had 15 bosses. And I think that's for a lot of us that start our own business, especially as service providers, we forget that our clients aren't actually our bosses.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, then we start acting like we have 15 different bosses and they're all equally important and all their demands need to be addressed right away. And sometimes I know that I did this when I went into business was I then made the situation even worse than when I was in corporate because I'm now making myself beholden to 15 different people as opposed to like the one bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I definitely, and I think this is a common mistake or like a common challenge that lots of people make is they're so used to that employee mindset that it's really, really hard to step out of that and realize like, no, I am the boss. This is my peer. Yes, they've hired me to do work for them, but they are not like my authority figure. We are, both business owners who are doing our work. And yeah, that has been such a such a hard thing for me to sort of break out of. And like I said, I feel like I'm in a much better place with it now, but I still really have to fight myself to not take on too much like all the time. It's a constant internal battle.
Well, if you're anything like me, like I love what I do. So I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So one of the tangible ways that I've kind of broken away from this idea of clients as bosses is in my schedule and being like, no, these are the days I take calls. And these are the times that I work on client things. And no, I have a 24-hour response time, not in 30 minutes. I'm not your employee. What are some of the tangible ways that you have started putting yourself first in your business?
Yeah, I would say really similar to you, actually. About a year ago now, because I think it was August or September of last year, I majorly shifted my schedule in terms of like the openings on my calendar. So I would talk to people like literally anytime they asked me to talk to them. Which is not ideal. And so I was going through a coaching program last summer where, a big piece of the program was about like better managing your schedule. Essentially, that was like the main theme. And so I worked with the woman who ran that program to just completely revamp my schedule. So I was actually, and I do it a little bit differently now, but this worked well for me at the time where I had basically like an A/B schedule. So I had a week where I would have certain call slots open, and then I had a whole week where I did not do any calls, and I could just do like hyper focused work, get in the zone, not get interrupted by calls. Because I don't know about you, but I'm the type of person I need to like get into my flow. If I'm interrupted by a call, it messes up like the hour before and the hour after in terms of productivity. So that was like really, really critical for me. And I'm doing it a little bit differently now, but I'm still making sure I always have like plenty of days where I do not have any calls. And that has been really, really, really huge. Beyond that, I think it has been not responding to email quite as quickly. And it started sort of out of necessity after my youngest was born in January of 2022. I just couldn't, right? Like I just wasn't as connected. I was on maternity leave at first. And then when I was coming back, it was just a lot. And I ended up actually getting an email from someone else, and it was like an autoresponder to an email I had sent them. And it said something along the lines of, your email is very important to me, but so is my life. I take up to 24 or 48 hours to respond to an email. I appreciate your understanding. And I was just sort of like, oh my God, we're allowed to do that? And I loved it. And I haven't actually like set up the autoresponder, but I just tell my clients now when I'm talking to them, like, I don't work these days of the week because I have a couple days a week I don't work. It might take up to 20 or 48 hours to respond. And so I've been more open about that. And that's been really helpful.
I think, one, it goes back to that whole employee mentality. And I was just reading a book called Do Nothing, and it talked about, how quickly we have trained ourselves to respond to email. It's like under 5 minutes. And so we get into that mindset. And if you're in corporate, I don't know about you, but when I was working for somebody else, if I hadn't responded within 5 minutes, somebody was walking down the hallway. Oh, yeah. And you're like, I was literally in the bathroom. I'll get to you when I can. But yeah, I love that whole idea of the autoresponder. I know a lot of people have done that, and I feel like I need to. But you were talking about you're taking the calls whenever people wanted you at the very beginning. And I think when we start our business, we're like, oh, so desperate in the idea of getting
Yeah.
clients to prove to ourselves that this whole idea of a business is going to work. And
Mhm.
all we end up doing is training future clients and ourselves. Whereas if we started out with, no, this is my schedule,
Mhm.
they're not going to know any different.
Right.
And you've now trained yourself to be like, no, this is the schedule I work with, instead of
Yeah.
having to retrain yourself.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I know it reminds me of a sort of a similar evolution I went through when I was working for someone else. Is I changed jobs to the last job I had before I started my business, and I had sort of told myself I was starting to really just feel burnt out on life in general, and I was like 27, like I shouldn't have been burnt out already, but I was ready for retirement. And I just sort of said to myself, like, okay, at this job, I am not going to respond to email once I have left the office until I get in the next day. And I'm not going to look at email or respond to it over the weekend. And I'm just going to start that way and never like give people the impression that I would do such a thing and see what happens. And it was great. And, every once in a while, my boss might text me if something super urgent came up. But other than that, like people knew that I didn't respond at night or on the weekends. And it just became like, this is what Danielle does. And it wasn't a big deal. And it was so eye opening to me. I'm like, oh, I could have been doing this the whole time. Like,
The whole time.
come on.
It's like setting expectations with your kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if they know what the expectations are, okay. But it's when you don't set an expectation or you don't share a boundary that people
Mm-hmm.
don't know where the line is. And so they're going to just try everything and see what happens.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so true. And then I said at the very beginning of this that I'm like having to sort of learn these things like professionally and personally. And it is definitely something like the exact same things, right? I have 3 kids. If they're all asking me for something all the time. And for the longest time, I would just constantly be like trying to give them all the things. And I don't remember where I read this, but I think it was just like a reel I saw on Instagram. But it was again one of those moments where I was like, wait, we're allowed to do that? And it was just a mom like drinking coffee and her child wanted something from her. And she said, I have to finish drinking my coffee and then I'd be happy to help you. And the kid just like walked away. And I remember being like, oh my God, why am I not doing that? Like, why? So I've started doing that too. It's very nice. Highly recommended if you're not already. Anybody listening?
I'm laughing because I would do that with my son. He's almost 21. But I would say in just a minute, like I need to finish this in just a minute. And then he got older, and you know how kids start spitting things back at you?
Mm.
And I'd ask him to do something, and I would hear, in a minute. And I'm like,
Yep.
Where is this coming from? And then it took like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And I was like, oh, dear God, that was me.
Yeah. My 3-year-old daughter literally said to me the other day when I was trying to get her to clean up toys or something, she said, in a minute, I have a quick work call. And I was like, oh gosh, clearly I say that too much.
It's too funny. I have an important work call.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do. They pick up everything. But I'm hoping that they will not grow up to be like, me in the sense of how for so many years I have just like, served every single person aside from myself, essentially.
Yeah. It's all in, there's the words you can use and then there's the actions, and they definitely, they pick up the words and unfortunately they pick up the ones that they really shouldn't. But the actions is what's really, going to shape their behavior as they grow up. So.
Yeah. And I know that's something I think a lot about. That was a big part of why I started my business is like, I started my business when my oldest son was, like 1. And I just wanted him, number 1, I wanted to be with him more. Number 2, I wanted him to have like this other world view that this was an option, right? Like I didn't grow up knowing anybody who was an entrepreneur. My uncle did end up starting a business, and that was actually, he was one of the business partners in the last 9-to-5 job that I had. But, you know, that was like, I was already out of college when he started that business. Growing up, like, I didn't know anybody who owned a business. And so it was never a thought that even crossed my mind as a potential career path. Looking back, I see that I've always had that like entrepreneurial spirit, like I think a lot of us have, but it never occurred to me that that could be like a path that I could take.
Yeah. And I'm the same. My dad was, a welder. My mom always worked in office jobs. And so when I decided to start my own business, not only was I'm like, I don't have role models, but also then you have family who are used to being W-2 employees, and the quote unquote security of that, which we all know doesn't actually exist. I mean, yes, it's nice when I got paid health insurance, but
right.
but then having to also be like, no, having to worry, your parents are worried about you, and be like, no, I'm fine, this is good. I can always go back and get a job if I need to get a job, but I would really like not to.
Oh my gosh, me too. I just said to my husband recently, I was just feeling stressed about entrepreneurship, and like we all do sometimes. And he basically was like, well, you could always get a job. And I was just like, no, I'm not saying that. Oh my gosh, no. Like, I'm just complaining, but like, that's the last thing I want to do. I can't ever imagine going back. And I mean, who knows, maybe someday I will imagine it and want to, but at this point I cannot picture just the idea of having to ask someone to go on vacation now. I'm like, what? No.
Which was another thing when getting into that mindset of my clients not being bosses, of being like, nope, I'm taking 2 weeks off. That I work it into my contract now, where it specifically says that I will take up to 20 days of, additional vacation, and also taking federal holidays, etc. So, from the outset that, I will be away, and I'm not giving up on that vacation time that I did as an employee.
Yeah, that was something that I had to learn as well. I would say the first 2 years I would go on vacation in quotes, but I would still be answering emails, and, I would sort of schedule my work so I didn't have a lot of work to do or anything, but I was still in communication with clients. Like they wouldn't even know I was on vacation. And after doing that a couple of times, I was like, no, this has got to end. Like, I started my business so that I could do what I want and have that time freedom and not do this. So why am I doing that?
Some of that, being able to take the time off, is knowing the essential things to do in your business, the things that really matter. And that's obviously different for every single business. And I know that you work in SEO and helping your clients with that. What are some of the things that really matter when it comes to SEO, as opposed to what people actually think matters?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, well, first of all, I think SEO, or search engine optimization, I think is one of those things that a lot of people find mystifying a bit. People tend to think it's a lot more technical and a lot more complicated than it really is. And so as a result, they're often, focusing on, I have to learn like how to code, or they're just sort of like stopping before they even get started because it just feels really overwhelming. And then beyond that, a lot of times people, when they think of SEO, they're just trying to think of like, how can I get the most traffic possible, right? They just want to reach anyone and everyone. And as a result, they end up creating content that's like very generic, very broad, going after, these like really vague keyword phrases that it looks like lots and lots of people are searching for. But as a result, they end up not really reaching anyone. And so what I always teach my clients, and what I talk about a lot in my coaching and the workshops that I do and stuff, is that you do not need to be reaching all the people. And I think this goes for so many things beyond SEO, right? It really goes for any kind of business, any form of marketing. You do not need to be reaching all of the people. You need to be reaching those people who truly want what you are offering. And so, on the SEO side of things, that looks like creating more niche content, really focusing in on what your specific audience, your ideal clients, what their problems actually are. What are they? I always say, like, what are they late night Googling and crying? That's like my my go-to phrase, but that sort of like hits home. Like, what is the thing that's like keeping them up at night, the problem that they're trying to solve that you can uniquely solve for them, and creating your content around that and really focusing on that. And I think that's like a big missing piece with SEO, but also just marketing in general. I think we so often try to talk to, you know, this big group of people, because it goes back to sort of what you were saying earlier of the like desperation of just wanting to find, you know, all the clients, making sure that we have enough work and all of that. But we end up actually making it a lot harder to do that because we're talking to everyone and not just like our people.
It reminds me of all of this stuff that's going on with Instagram and Reels, and because I know that it gets really exciting to see, thousands of people watched my reel because it was a trending audio or something was trending about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that I put a lot more thought into, maybe I use a trending audio, but the caption is really niched down to my ideal client. Mm-hmm. The hook that is on the video is really, really thought out, and maybe it doesn't get as many views, but I notice I get a lot more website visits
mm-hmm.
to those. And as opposed to like 1,000 people watched it and 2 people went over to my website.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the point of 1,000 people seeing it when, 500 see it and I get 10 people over to my website?
Yeah.
So I imagine it's pretty much the same thing when it comes to SEO.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And that's what I always try to, really get through to my clients. And it's hard because, especially if you're paying someone to do SEO for you, you want to see these big traffic numbers. You want to feel like you're getting ROI, right? That you're getting your money's worth and that you're getting all kinds more traffic. So what I always have to help remind my clients is, yes, traffic is part of it, but what we really want to look at is, are you getting more conversions? Are you making more sales? Are you landing more clients? Like, is that traffic improving your bottom line? Because if it's just traffic, most of the time that's not going to help you. Now, I do work with a lot of bloggers where just traffic gets them ad revenue. And like in that case, yes, we are looking for traffic like pretty specifically. But even a blogger typically is wanting to get people on their email list or wanting to sell a digital product or, something like that. And so there's still that need to really focus in on trying to reach like your specific people, your ideal audience. And I think you're right. I mean, when I think about reels are the perfect sort of example of that. I mean, my most watched reel ever, I think got like 15,000 views, which felt like a lot to me. It's definitely not viral, but it's my version of viral. But it was about how I still can't call my in-laws by their first name, like after 17 years of knowing them. And it was just like a random thing, a random thought that I had, and I made a reel about it. And people thought it was hilarious. And so many people related to it. And it was fun. And it was like funny to see everybody. But I didn't get a single client out of it. Like it didn't help me at all. It was just like sort of funny for a day. But
it is. I mean, it does that whole, personal brand bit, and people can relate to you. But
yeah.
In the long run, the 15,000 didn't really matter as much.
They weren't dying for SEO help.
Damn it.
If only.
What is something that you wished your clients knew booking a VIP day with you? What is something like you wish they already knew before they even did that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, the big piece that I often have to educate people on and remind them of constantly is that SEO is not a quick fix. It is a long game. It's an ongoing process. It's a kind of thing that you really have to actively work at essentially all the time, which is sort of frustrating for people. I get it. It's not always like the most fun thing to hear. But I think the work can be fairly simple and, you can incorporate it into your overall marketing strategy pretty easily, but it's not something that you're going to leave the VIP day and like next week you're going to start seeing the results. I think you can start incorporating some of the strategies that I teach where I'm talking about keyword research, how to use keyword research to really discover what your audience needs from you, and you can start applying that information to anything, right? Not just website content, but social media content, email marketing. Like, you can use the strategies to get more of those quick fix results. But the actual process of search engine optimization is a longer process. But it also, when you do it and you do it well and you follow the strategy and it pays off, like, it pays off for years and years and years. So it's worth the wait, I think. But you do sort of have to have that upfront patience and like faith, I guess, that the work you're doing now like is going to pay off in the long run.
I would like for you to tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah. So the best place to find me is on Instagram. That's definitely where I'm most active. I am at Danielle Gagnon _SEO. And honestly, like, that's the best place. My links are there. I'm on Facebook, but not a lot. So, send me a DM if you want to chat. That's like the best place to get my attention. And yeah, I make new, I think, funny reels a lot. So
she has great reels. She does.
Thank you. I entertain myself at least.
Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much. This is really fun.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Here's What I Learned. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow and leave a review. Remember, there's always something new to learn. Stay curious and never stop asking.